Composer Gloves here, and this is the 45th video in the Kontakt from the Ground Up tutorial series. And today we're going to talk about reverb. So, whoops, that's the wrong thing. So, here we have a reverb unit. We've used this like 100 million times. We've talked about convolution reverb, which is actually being used here. So, we're going to bypass that, and we're going to bypass this. And right now, the sound we have sounds like this. It's glorious, isn't it? This is the exact sound I want playing when I propose to my wife. Just like that. Even that chord. I want a D minor. What is that? Yeah, it's D minor chord. Okay, so we got a reverb. What is reverb? Well, it's similar to the convolution reverb, except for it goes about it a different way. I do not know. I would imagine that this would be more CPU resource friendly. So it's not like convolution reverb kind of gets a whole bunch of elves together and they come and they take all your computer's resources and leaves you with nothing. But the reverb doesn't do that. The reverb established a government and said this is the most effective way to do it. And then later on they had an uprising because it turns out they were wrong. So with the reverb, now these things are kind of subjective, and it's kind of funny what they name certain things and then what they explain what they do. Because I like to read, I read up on what the manual officially says. That way I'm not like a moron if there's something specific to a particular reverb unit, because reverb units are different. So in a large room, when you sing, it takes some time for the reverb to come back to you. And so that's what's nifty for the pre-delay, is you can adjust that time. And we've talked about timings, like the 0 to 10 seconds to the 30 or 20 to 50 seconds, milliseconds, I mean. And so this is useful for simulating that, so you can put some delay between when the reverb reaches you. And it builds up, of course, because that's what reverb does naturally. So that's what pre-delay is useful for, like larger rooms. So this would be like a closer room, a longer room. And so the size actually affects the size of the room. However, it's still mysterious what's going on behind the scenes, because this is totally ambiguous towards or it's not totally ambiguous, but it'd take us a while to talk about what size actually means, because you have a room, right? And each room behaves differently. So the size of this room, is it a square room, a rectangle room? I don't know, a circle room? The refractions of the room would behave differently depending on the size. And so as you turn it up, it's kind of just, you've messed with size enough that you know what it does. Because this sounds closer as a closer room. This obviously sounds like a bigger room. But what shape is that room? See, that's when when you're wondering why some reverb units are more expensive, is because they're specifically attacking certain model figures for the size setting and things like that. So there's that. Then they have this color option, which this one was interesting. It basically is the kind of surface that your reflections are coming off of. It makes perfect sense, but it's kind of hard to really say anything past that. A hardwood floor, I believe, is 0. Or just a hard surface, not necessarily a wood floor. Because a tile would respond different, a wood would respond different, all these things would respond different. If you turn it up, I have no idea, but it's a softer surface now, maybe something that absorbs more. And so that is important to know. Now, again, just so you have an idea of what you're doing when you touch the knob, kind of helps me make decisions, I suppose. The convolution is kind of straightforward. It's reproducing the room that you were in. But this one is a lot less straightforward and more ambiguous, but it's the one I tend to actually go for. And then you have dampening. So you can hear, if you hear that reverb, and it's actually apparent right here on our spectrogram. If we take the reverb off, the reverb reaches up into higher frequencies. Turn it on. It applies the low pass filter so that only lower frequencies may pass. That's pretty much what dampening does, just like every other context. I think I may have said high pass in the past by accident, but I meant low pass. It attenuates high frequencies. And then you have stereo. Now this is interesting. So 0, I believe, is just mono. But as you turn the stereo up, oops, let's turn that down. You can hear a difference, but as you turn it up, it actually keeps the low frequencies in the middle, which if you're adding reverb to a bass sound, you generally want your bass sound to be mono. But it actually takes the upper frequencies, and there's a band split, and it pushes them out to the sides of your stereo image, creating a much larger image. but your bass is still kind of uniform. So that's a really nifty way. Well, we got some pops here. I wonder what that was about. So that is, plays on. That's a really nifty way of going about that. And then you have your stereo. Wait, that's what I just said. I do not know why I just said that. Then you have your wet dry, which are the same as before. If this was in another effect slot, it would actually be return, or not another effect slot. If it was a send effect, you do return, so the amount of signal that was affected being returned. And that is the reverb unit. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe. If it's snowing outside, you should drop a comment that says, like, in these exact words, "Holy crap!" exclamation mark, quotation mark, "It's snowing outside." No ending quotation mark, because we're getting crazy. 2 spaces, an exclamation mark again with a question mark, and then 3 periods, and then some sort of emoji. And that's like the exact comment you should leave down there. You can get creative with the emoji. Maybe make it a penguin if you could figure that out. And yeah, have a blessed day.